We just waiting for Martha.
And there she is.
Thank you, Matt, for helping me connect.
Where would you rather be right now than on a Zoom meeting?
I'm trying to be responsible since I couldn't make the last one because of internet, so.
Well, you've got the best backdrop by far.
Where are you?
I am in Orlando at the Premium Outlets, and my daughter on a mother-daughter trip, and my daughter's gone shopping without me while I sit here and do this. So,
Oh yeah.
with a virgin strawberry daiquiri. So,
Okay. All right. Well, why don't we get started here? I would like to call a meeting to order. And we are going to start with a public hearing, which was rescheduled from our last meeting that didn't, for technological reasons, didn't go well. Northeast Lobster Company, LLC, doing business as the Nor'easter, 10 Huntington Road, Northeast Harbor, request for liquor license and special amusement permit. Should we handle these separately, Derlin? Can't hear you. Nope.
If I unmute, that would probably help. Yes, yeah, do them separately, yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna have a public hearing on the Northeast Lobster Company Nor'easter special amusement permit. We did the liquor licenses last time because they were time sensitive. Okay, we'll invite anybody to remark. Any input?
I would like to, this is Dan McKay. I'm a neighbor of the Nor'easter, and I've tried to attend these amusement permit hearings. I noted the application was asking for permission for dancing with mechanical amplification. I just want some clarification as to what that means. This restaurant is located in the middle of a residential area, and I know I may be the only neighbor here tonight, but I know there are other neighbors who are concerned about the level of noise. I guess two concerns. One is the level of noise emanating from the restaurant, which in fairness to the current owners was not a problem last summer, but was a problem with the prior ownership. And then the second area of concern with respect to which I'd make the same comment, was the problem with the prior ownership was rowdy behavior in the parking lot, waking up the neighbors late at night.
Okay, anybody from Northeast Lobster here?
Hey guys, this is Adam Fairley here. Thanks for hearing this tonight. I can comment and say, Dan, thanks for joining us. I've tried to make a relationship with all the neighbors that I can meet. One thing, we've worked with Ken Smith, who's one of our closest neighbors, by staying in touch with him if we ever were going to do something on the porch. He's got my cell phone number, vice versa, so we can, communicate if anything like that was going to be going on. And we're also just trying to be, overtly cautious on how much noise we are making. I appreciate you mentioning it, that it wasn't an issue with us because we were trying as hard as we could to keep noise reasonable. And we don't want to upset any neighbors. We're also attached to a hotel, so we're mindful of the guests that are there. So we kind of just want to be able to schedule things as we hope to, into the evening. And the mechanical amplification and dancing were also a part of the previous one. That's no different than we've had in the past. And we just wanted to make sure you knew that we'll be as mindful as we can be.
Okay, and again, I want to emphasize that Adam, we have, we think you guys did a great job last summer, and the problems that I mentioned occurred under prior ownership. But we do, to be honest, the term in the ordinance, mechanical amplification, makes us nervous because that could mean just about anything at any volume. So, I hope that you can give us some assurance that the level of noise will be comparable to what it was last summer, and that you'll be sensitive to the fact that there are residences in the neighborhood.
Oh, I can absolutely assure you of that. And the wording potentially could be changed down the road, because technically us playing our radio throughout the day is mechanically amplified. So I'm not sure if that, could be looked at a later date or not, but it is what it is, I guess. So thank you.
That's all I have.
Okay, great. Anybody else? Okay.
Adam, I was just going to say that the previous owner that Dan mentioned had agreed not to have the amplified music on the deck. He had it inside. Is that how you operated?
Yeah, good question. We had one outdoor live musician last year who used an acoustic guitar. There are some benefits to having a small speaker or something, just like angled back towards the building. That's sort of what we were hoping for. And other musicians have mentioned that some places have like a decimal requirement, and people can take a reading with their phone or a machine to measure that coming off of the deck. But we are applying with no restrictions on the permit.
Okay. All right, anybody else? Okay, let's move along now to Mandy Fontaine, doing business as Abel's Lobster Pound. Request for liquor special amusement permit renewal. Anybody here from Abel's?
Can I ask this is Jeff, can I ask a clarifying question? For
Yep.
a liquor license, is it a renewal even if it's under new ownership, if it's the same establishment? Is that what I'm hearing? Because I thought it was under new ownership this year, or maybe I'm wrong.
I think they have to apply every year for a liquor license.
But it's not is a renewal different than a,
Oh, I don't know.
okay. I don't either.
It said,
Mandy did operate Abel's last year, so I think that's why it's a renewal, because she was granted that last summer. Because this is their second summer there.
I was thinking it was their first. Thank you.
Yeah. So why is Northeast Lobster was there last summer as well, right? But theirs isn't a renewal. Anyway, okay. Post public hearing. I will accept a motion to grant a special amusement permit to Northeast Harbor or Northeast Lobster.
second.
Hey, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Oh. Okay, thank you. I will also take a motion for the special amusement permit for Abel's.
Move approval.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Aye.
Okay, minutes. Approval of minutes from March 29, 2021, special meeting.
Jeff Wood moves approval, acceptance.
Great,
Second,
good. Jeff, how do you vote?
Jeff Wood votes aye.
Wendy, how do you vote?
Wendy Littlefield votes aye.
Oh, I'm sorry, we can just do this. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Sorry. I will accept the motion to approve the minutes from April 5, 2021.
So moved.
Second,
Great. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Appointments, recognitions, and resignations. Appoint ballot clerks under Title 30A MRSA Section 2528 for 2021 annual town meeting.
John,
Yes.
this is Claire. I
Yep.
had removed about 3 clerks that have passed away, but
Yep.
there are a few others that have relocated. So I will be removing them from the list as well.
Okay.
Claire, have all of these people been contacted and expressed a willingness to serve?
Yes, I sent letters out about 6 months ago when we were getting ready for the presidential election.
Okay. I move approval.
I'll
Second.
second that.
Great. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Oh. All right. Appoint biannual election clerks under Title 21-A MRSA Section 503.
I'll move appointment.
I'll
Second.
second it.
Great. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, consider appointment of Kerry Sands to the Economic Development Committee.
I move appointment with thanks.
I'll second it.
Great. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Consider recommendation of appointment of Jacob Wright as Director of Finance and Treasurer.
As you go ahead with this, I'd like to, first of all, thank a few people for participating in the process. As you know, we outlined a fairly rigorous process a few months ago as we undertook this search. So I want to thank the Maine Municipal Association for the coordination. I'd also like to thank Chief Jim Willis for being a department head representative. I'd like to thank Sarah Gilbert, the finance director of Bar Harbor, who's also had worked for us on a part-time basis and very well familiar with our system. And also 2 citizen volunteers that put in some good effort and a lot of time on this, Brian Henkel and John Brown going forward. So I'm very pleased to nominate Jacob Wright to be the new director of finance and treasurer.
Okay. Do
Excellent.
I see a motion?
I would move to accept and appoint that Jacob Wright in that position.
I would second that and with excitement to get to know him.
Absolutely.
Great. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
I believe Jacob is with us this evening. He was very interested in the audit coming up, or the audit report. So I think, Jacob, are you there still? No, don't see him. So if he pops in, I'll let you know. But he was
I
am.
trying to.
And
I am, and I'm
I
looking
think we have some
Looking
technical
forward
issues.
to getting
Yeah.
to know all of y'all, and I really
Okay. Hmm, okay.
I hope you don't
Thanks.
really sound like that all the
I
time.
really
Can't.
appreciate being appointed. I'm looking forward to getting to know all of y'all. Thank you very much. I'm looking forward to the position. Oh,
Okay. Nice to meet you,
I'm
Jacob.
sorry. Are you able to hear me now?
Uh,
Still not coming through?
a little
It's
better
coming
right
through,
there.
it's just not.
Better.
It's nice to meet you as well. I apologize for the system.
That's okay.
I'm looking forward to working in this position. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Well, welcome aboard. Thank you.
Welcome aboard. That's right. Okay, consider recommendation of appointment of seasonal dock hands and boat launchers. Everybody saw that list, correct?
Yes.
Okay,
I would move approval of the slate of employees under the terms presented.
Second,
Seconded.
great. Any discussion? All in favor?
aye.
Aye.
Aye. Great. Any opposed?
Thank you.
Good. Consent agenda, healthcare resolve, and Hancock County Commissioners meeting minutes of March 23rd, 2021.
Should we take our audit out of order maybe since James is on Zoom here?
Yeah, why don't we just finish the consent agenda first? Okay.
I move approval of consent agenda as presented.
Seconded.
Great. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Selectmen's, okay, so why don't we now, I think we should take Jim out of order here. So let's see. Okay, let's go to item D under new business. And that will be the annual audit for review prepared by James W. Wadman, CPA.
Okay, good evening, everybody. It's nice to be with you again tonight. See Kelly's on with us as well. I think this is our second year doing a Zoom presentation for your audit. We used to be in there in front of you in the council chambers and presenting in person. Maybe next year we'll be back there doing our typical presentation in person, but we'll do our best to do this electronically again for you this year. Sent out last evening, sent out a little handout to accompany the report with the highlights. Hopefully that's made its way around so that most everybody has a copy of that to go along with things, so we can kind of move through this material, because as you know, your report is very lengthy. You know, we're almost 90 pages in report material here with a tremendous amount of required disclosure. So I think this handout helps us kind of move through things and hit on some of the highlights. So I'll roll right into the report itself. Pages 1 and 2, our opinion letter, where we express our opinion on your financial statements, note disclosures, and so forth. You have an unmodified opinion once again this year, or a clean opinion on your financial statements, indicating that for this past fiscal year ended June 30th, 2020, the financial statements that accompany the report are a fair presentation in all material respects for this past fiscal operating year. If we had any issues that we couldn't resolve, or anything that we couldn't obtain the necessary audit evidence on, then we would modify our report here. And instead of a 2-page opinion letter, you'd probably have a 3 or 4-page opinion letter where we discuss any issues that we ran into.
No.
Sorry? Okay. Pages 3 through 9 is a management's discussion and analysis. And what I'd like to touch upon with you here couple of items in this management's discussion and analysis. In the middle of page number 3, the fund highlights paragraph, where we talk about ending fund balances for the town for this past fiscal year being $12,935,000 and change, with $3,475,645 being your unassigned fund balance or your surplus. And that represents approximately 20% of your expenses for the past year. In the handout that I've given to you, you can see for the past 3 years, as well as those for some other June 30 year end coastal towns that we have. And we've included here for comparison purposes, Bar Harbor's numbers, Castine and Tremont. And in terms of dollars, you can see that you folks are running comparable to Bar Harbor and Castine in terms of dollars, up in the $3 to $3.5 million range for surplus. And then in terms of a percentage of your expenses, you're running comparable to Bar Harbor and Tremont. Castine being an outlier there in terms of a percentage of their expenses. They're pushing close to 100% of their annual expenses there in their surplus. But you folks in the you've gone from 18% to 20% in the past 3 years, running fairly close each year and staying with a nice healthy surplus balance. The Maine Municipal Association recommends that you have at least 10 to 12% of your expenses that you should have. So you're sitting here at 20% this year. So you're in great financial shape. Any questions on these figures before we continue on? Before we leave the management's discussion and analysis, I just wanted to point out on pages 8 and 9, we've got quite a bit of detail here talking about some of your budget versus actual variances for this past year, both on the revenue and the expense side, both positive and negative variances between budget and actual. So if you're looking at, how do we do budget versus actual in various areas, you can look at these pages 8 and 9 and pick up a lot of the reasons for those increases and decreases comparing budget to actual. Financial statements begin on page 10. And I want to talk briefly about pages 10 and 11. The government-wide statements here, where everything was basically pulled onto one page for a balance sheet, and the same for a revenue and expense report. And so we're looking at page 10, total assets for the town for this past year in excess of $60 million. And on this statement, we've got over $43 million in capital assets for the town. So these are, not every little asset that the town owns. These are the larger assets, but there's a tremendous amount of value assigned to the town's land, buildings, and a lot also assigned to town-owned roads, sidewalks, parking lot, things of that nature. So these, what I want to point out here, they're required to be the first financial statements that we look at, but they don't follow your budget process. You're not, obviously budgeting use of land and sidewalks and things of that nature to be able to pay bills with. So again, they're required to be here, but it's really when we get over to page 12 and through the remainder of the financial statements, we're now looking at financial statements that are going to follow your budget process, your internal accounting, where you're looking at, okay, what do we have for debts, for bills to pay in the near future, and what do we have available for assets to do that with? So again, from page 12 on are going to be the financial statements that you'll be able to compare with your reports that you receive internally, your budgets, and so forth. Beginning on page 16, pages 16, 17, and 18 are the financial statements for the marina funds. So these are set up as proprietary funds. They're meant to be self-sufficient, where the expenses are paid with user fees, not general revenues. And they're basically set up to be similar to a for-profit enterprise. Now, notes to the financial statements begin on page 21. They go all the way through page 57. So we got 37 pages of notes to the financial statements. And of those 37 pages, the final 21 pages roughly are related to required disclosures for pensions and other post-employment benefits, being retiree health and life insurance benefits. So there's a tremendous amount of required information in here related to those items. The first roughly 16 pages are more general accounting policies, details of the town's cash and investments, debt, listing all the debts that the town has. And also I want to point out on pages 25 and 26, specifically on page 26, is a nice place to go to find a breakdown of all the various fund balances that that the town had as of June 30th, 2020. Okay, now I'm going to move to page 58, but I also just want to ask again if anybody has any questions before we go back into some financial statements. Okay. Page 58 is a good statement to look at for your general operating fund, comparing budget versus actual operating results for this past year. And we've got an original and final budget column, which match up perfectly. So we didn't have any budget modifications during the year as a result of, say, a special town meeting or something along that line. So we've got a budget, actual, and then our far right-hand column is where we look at favorable and unfavorable variances for the year. And if we look at that final right-hand column, overall on the revenue side, revenues didn't come in as high as budget, primarily in the tax area. Expenditures, however, came in well below budget, $843,595 below budget. So overall, the town had $810,000 of favorable budget variances during the year. And then we couple that with a little bit of a favorable variances on some transfers out to other funds. So the budget for the year, if you look down to the bottom line on the budget column, the budget was to reduce the town surplus by $500,000 this year. Actual results came in with an increase in the town surplus of $313,192. We're going to look at a statement related to that following in a few pages here. Pages 67 through 70 is where we look at revenues and expenses in more detail. And we look at the page 67 and 68, we're looking at budget variances related to taxes. For example, property taxes came in $70,741 below budget. And that's going to be primarily a result of collection activity. Kelly, you're there. You recall if that was specifically related to the unavailable tax revenue adjustment?
That was part of it. And part of it was they had a huge, I think, like $10,000 supplement at the end of the year that was not paid. Also, that affected it. So.
Okay. Okay. So we look at your tax revenues that are owed, and we look 60 days beyond year end, and we determine, okay, what's still unpaid at the end of that time frame, and we have to adjust tax revenue up or down based on that, so that the town isn't spending money that is not available. that's sitting in long-term receivables. So we have an adjustment there. Motor vehicle excise tax, you can see, didn't come in quite as high as budgeted. And also down here, looking in the intergovernmental revenues, I see another, some Acadia National Park funds related to treatment plan revenues. We've got some positive and negative variances there. Overall, not much of a difference between budget and actual, a net change of $30,000 if you look at the bottom right-hand column of page 68. So not a lot of big difference there on the revenue side. Expenses, however, and we're seeing this kind of across the board, a lot of it COVID related, a lot of expenses coming in below budget this past year just because of operations. So if we look at the bottom, page 70, the far right-hand column, $843,595 of budget variance favorable. In other words, expenses coming in below budget to the tune of $843,000. And we look at page 71, where we kind of pull the whole surplus change together. Started the year $3,162,453, ended the year again at that $4,475,645 that we talked about in the management's discussion and analysis, for a net increase of $313,192. So, very strong operating results for the town this year. And it kind of, really kind of mirrors what we're seeing overall with our audits. A lot of concern, obviously, when COVID first hit, what's going to happen? What's going to happen to people's ability to pay? And actually, some of our towns that are, very heavily reliant on hospitality, like Bar Harbor, really saw some significant differences this past year on the revenue side. For the most part, I think, we saw that there was not a lot of negative change for our municipal clients over this past year as a result of COVID. Actually, a lot of property tax collection was quite strong, and excise tax revenue was quite strong. And couple that with some decreases in expenses. And, most towns we saw came through things pretty strong for this past year. Let's see what else I wanted to mention here to you. On the handout we gave to you on the bottom half of the second page there, we're showing some information related to debt service. In the town, ended the year with roughly 17.3 million in debt, and that's all detailed in the notes to the financial statements. And that, obviously, in terms of dollars, is a lot of debt to have. In terms of the town's state valuation, it's less than 1% of the town's state valuation. So you're well within any statutory limitations that a town is allowed to have. And on page 25 in the notes talks about the various limitations with an absolute cap of 15% of your state valuation on total town debt. So you can see at, you're at 0.80% of state valuation. So you're well within your allowable debt limitations. And in concluding, no management letter comments again this year. We would like to point that out. What a strong job is done there in the finance department. And we have Jake with us. Jake, nice to meet you and see your face. The new incoming finance director. So you'll have a good path here to follow. And you have any questions for us, Jake?
No, I don't know if you guys can hear me better now.
Yeah.
Am I coming across okay? Okay. Well, now that you guys can hear me, I'm excited to take over the position. Mr. Wadman, I'm excited to work with you. My background is in audit of municipal clients, so I hope to be working really closely with you and making sure that the audit process goes as smoothly as possible.
Well, that sounds great because, this report, as I mentioned, is roughly 90 pages, and Kelly, who's on here with us, she has to write this report every year. So since you've got that background, we'll let you write it next year. How's that sound?
Absolutely. I would like to make it more integrated. Absolutely. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Well, that's everything that, Kelly, anything you want to add? Any other questions that anybody has?
Jim, I have a question. I'm just curious on this. I printed out, but it's in black and white, this where you show the long-term debt and the percentage of state valuation. I couldn't tell which was which of the towns on the graph.
Okay. So you are Martha, you're the third one over. Third one.
I figured, yeah.
Yeah.
Who are the other ones?
So Bar Harbor is the first on the left-hand side, followed by Castine and Mount Desert, and then Tremont is, barely registering in terms of dollars. They're only at about $480,000 in debt. And obviously they don't register very high on the lower chart as well in terms of state valuation. They're at 0.09% of state valuation. Castine is at just under 3% of state valuation. So if you look at the graph there in terms of percentage of state valuation, they're kind of the tall one there, but they're still well within the state statutes. So sure, certainly.
I had one question, and this is like audit reading for dummies here, so pardon me. Way back on page 36, the general obligation debt, we sort of go through, and then all of a sudden, 2026 through 2030, there's a big jump in the principal. What's the causation of that, or the anticipated causation of that?
Okay, so the way the Governmental Accounting Standards Board wants us to display debt is to show the 5 most current years.
Okay.
And then show 5-year increments after that.
Okay.
So what you're looking at after 2025, 5-year blocks.
Okay.
So
Thanks. I thought there was some unanticipated expense that you had predicted. So
a big balloon payment coming due that year. So yeah, so that's what happens here is they want the 5 most current years and then block it after that. So
Great. Well, thank you, Jim. Anybody else have anything more for Jim? Okay, very good. Thank you.
thank you.
all right. Well, thank you all for your time.
Thank you.
And feel free to reach out to us with any questions you have.
All right. Thanks, Jim.
Thank you.
All right. Let's move back to section 8 here, unfinished business. Finalize and sign the warrant for annual town meeting, May 3 and
Excuse me,
4.
John,
Yes.
You're gonna do, I have a selectman's report if we can.
Oh,
Are you gonna
okay.
do that?
Yeah, I thought we had missed that. Go ahead.
Yeah. I just wanted to bring up something that we've had some conversation about in the Economic Development Committee. There's quite a bit of concern among people in town, some people in town, about the availability of parking in downtown Northeast Harbor, in downtown Seal Harbor, and there may be issues in other villages of the town, but they haven't come to us. Anyway, I understand that Jim Willis and Tony Smith have had discussed some possible solutions, possibly considering some of the steps that Bar Harbor's taken or other towns in the area that would make it easier for people to live and work in the downtown areas of our villages. We had some discussion at an earlier meeting about the traffic committee and would this be in their bailiwick, but the traffic committee has really not been active in years. And I feel that it's something that's best handled by the public safety and by, I think Jim would come up with some good ideas that he could bring to us. So I don't know how other members of the board feel, but I think I'd like to see some action taken on this, at least to come up with some potential solutions that we could consider.
Sure, I actually agree with Martha on that. You know, I think that if we just put this in Jim's lap, I think we'll probably move forward a little bit faster.
Yeah, I think, I guess the Harbor Committee has been talking about parking, or, you know, people leaving their cars all day at the marina. So it would be good if Jim was able to kind of take charge, maybe with another, just a little small group, to make some recommendations. I think they could get it done quickly. And if everything sort of was cohesive and worked well together, I think that's the key.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's good to have, like, be proactive and try to do something before we have a major issue. So I think getting some discussion on this right now is very important.
Great.
The only concern I have with asking Jim and the public safety department to handle something that has not ever been really referenced as a safety issue. I understand that, you know, he would be the boots on the ground, so to speak, to carry out any policy that the town has or plan going forward, but it concerns me a little bit to drop it in his lap and not have, you know, the people who are interested in it, in changes in the economics or the non-safety issues, quality of life issues weigh in. I'm not objecting to his being a great resource for ideas, but that's my only, in the back of my mind, I'm thinking this isn't really a safety issue.
He's though.
Well,
Jeff,
I would
he's
agree.
handled a lot of these kinds of parking issues in the past.
I understand, and he would be the one to enforce the parking issues, but if it's not a safety issue, should he be developing policy? I don't know.
I'm not sure he's developing policy. He's been steeped in this stuff for years, whether it's safety or economics or anything, and he listens to everyone. And I just think that throwing this into a committee instead of having someone dealing with it that's actually demonstrated an acumen to deal with it would be sort of better way to go.
Ellen's raising her hand, John.
Is some of this the result of 365 now having headquarters on Main Street and having places for people to live there?
I think maybe Kathy can address that. I think she's here.
Is she here?
Her picture's here.
Yes, I am here. Ellen, I think that what we have found as our operations and what COA is encountering is a concern among residents and business owners about the availability of parking primarily in the summer months.
Uh-huh.
But from our point of view and from the Economic Development Committee's point of view, the idea that if we want to bring more people to live with us year round and we want to have more businesses, the idea of not having parking available to them or having that be the barrier to having people live or work in town is a problem that could easily be solved. We have big empty parking spaces, but there are ordinances that prevent people from parking there overnight as one example. And so if there are solutions that could be workable, and you're right, Jeff, the police department is the one who enforces if they're going to be ticketing people because they're parking in a space where they're not supposed to be parking, they would be the ones to manage that. So
couldn't the ordinance be changed? If an ordinance
I think
isn't
that's
working-
what needs to be determined is, does it need an ordinance change or is it a permitting process for residents to be able to park there overnight, for instance? So I think that what they would like to do is to create a small group of people to act on this more expeditiously than a standing committee, but to have some weigh in, as you suggested, Jeff. They're not trying to make policy, but they want to have weigh in from citizens so they can recommend something that would work for businesses, for residents, for the community.
Because the parking in the back is not enough, right?
For the COA project, correct. But And we actually, when we built our building on Old Firehouse Lane, we scaled back the building and providing parking on site because of concerns about parking in the public lot. But, you know, most of the year that lot is empty. And in the evenings it's empty because there's no parking allowed overnight. So, so there might be solutions, and that's why we thought, you know, Jim seemed to have some good ideas on how to manage it.
Good.
Good.
So he'll need somebody to work with him?
He'll figure it out. Derlin,
Yeah,
will- I would think Derlin will talk to him and then, and
Okay.
he'll work it out.
Okay, anything else on that score? Any more selectmen's reports? So before we leave this item, Derlin, are we going to have Jim deal with this?
He's willing to. I'll talk to him when he gets back from vacation.
Yeah, find out.
Expressed a willingness to do it, yeah.
Okay,
I think he probably would be amenable to having some other people, you know, give some advice and input.
Yeah, and that's-
He's not a go it alone sort of guy. He likes to take the pulse of the community, so.
yeah, I'm looking to him for some recommendations and being able to draw on that community that he's already, you know, has a relationship with.
Yeah, I think he'll be fine.
Yeah. All right, unfinished business. Finalize and sign the warrant for annual town meeting, May 3 and 4, 2021.
Do you need, Derlin, do you need us to come by the office and sign this?
Yeah,
person?
yes, you will have to come by and sign
Okay,
off on it.
do it
please.
tomorrow.
Yeah, I will need everyone to have signed it by Thursday because it needs to be posted on Friday according to our charter.
This Thursday,
Yes.
I'm in Biddeford. I'm not even
I
in town.
won't be back till Saturday, so
Get
Not
3
sure.
though, right? Claire, we can get 3, right? It'd be enough. That's the
Yeah, we can
quorum.
get 3.
I can
I'm
do an
here.
electronic signature.
Can they fax a signature? Or I don't know, scan one? Take a page and scan it and send it to you?
I think we'd have to check with legal on that.
Well,
Can
there's
I,
us that are here.
can I, has this already been all run off and everything? Because I just, just as a point of order, on page 3 with the letter from Jerry and Phil, the first sentence in the second paragraph has a typo that says, for several months, the town meeting, the warrant committed meets weekly. Just one of those things that jump off the page to me. And if it's at the beginning of the whole thing, it would be like, okay.
Oh,
Just a minor typo, but what, am I wrong in pointing that out? I hate
No,
to-
no.
That's fine.
You can tell you're a teacher. You've got
I
your
can
red
tell
pen.
you read it.
Oh my God, I hate typos. They just drive me nuts, but sorry.
You know, it's funny because no matter how many sets of eyes read this and no matter how many times, there's always some of those things that jump through. We've
Yeah,
never gotten to a point where we've cleaned up 100%, although we've tried.
I'm
no, and I
sorry.
did not go through page for page because we did that once already, but I did
Yeah.
read that opening letter. And-
Nice catch.
And what
Yeah,
time
thanks-
are you there,
thanks a-
Claire? If you need 3, that means I'm gonna be back from Freeport tomorrow, late afternoon, and I'm heading out of town again Thursday morning. But if you're, what kind of time can I get to the office Thursday morning?
There's somebody there up until probably 5 o'clock most nights.
Okay, and then what time is the earliest in the morning?
9 or 8.
Okay,
8:30.
I'll get there tomorrow afternoon. Okay.
you.
Yep,
I'll be
all
by
right.
tomorrow, Claire.
Me too.
Sorry, guys. Anyway, request permission. Did anyone find anything else in the warrant that they wanted to point out? Should ask. Nope, okay.
That
Request
D,
from,
just that D.
request permission to change dates for vital records training from April 14 to April 27, 1 p.m. to 2:30 p.m. in the clerk's office closure. Per the announcement sent from Vital Records, Cynthia Fortier.
Yeah, they had to change one of the dates. So we're just asking if we can move the date that we were going to attend that.
Move approval.
Second.
Great. All in
May I ask-
favor?
Is that one of the days that we approved, like the changing of the hours of the office? So
Yes.
do we need to make a separate motion to change that? I would vote in favor of this, of moving the date for your vital records, but does that automatically translate to an approval of the moving of changing the hours?
That's how I intended my motion.
Okay,
Mhm. Okay, do we have a
very
second?
good.
Yeah, it was seconded.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 John, I was just looking at my manager's memo. The unfinished business item C didn't get moved over to the unfinished business section for some reason. And that was to confirm final details for the annual town meeting, open floor meeting at MDI High School, May 4th, 2021 at 6 p.m. I did not make the last meeting because I had electronic issues as well as anyone else, but I did get the reports of the discussion, and I did arrange for Wallace Tents to set up some chairs at the front, up near the microphone, for those people that would prefer to get out of their cars and to actually sit outdoors. So I did arrange and have arranged for chairs to be available there. So that should hopefully alleviate some of the concerns of people that don't like to be in their cars. We'll make sure, of course, that the social distancing is observed and all of that business.
How many chairs,
And of
Darrell?
course, if it, what's that?
How many chairs?
I've arranged for 60 at this point.
Right.
So I think that should be enough. I doubt if every person that comes wants to sit there. It may be, I could get 100 if you'd prefer. I can go back and say I want 100 chairs, but I thought 60 would probably suffice.
I think 60 will suffice. And I think beyond the distancing, I think it's going to be critical, because the mask mandate applies to outdoor spaces as well. And
Oh,
so
yes.
even if you're sitting outdoors 6 feet away from everyone else, we still need to reiterate that you need to have your mask on. And so I think for a lot of people, they might just be more comfortable in their car, without their mask on. So maybe that will change between now and then, but who knows?
Wanted to make sure people had the option. As you know, that time of May can be very cold. So a lot of people may be much more comfortable in their cars than sitting out there. But there's the option if people would enjoy that more, we'll have that for them. So.
Derlin, last year we had the town meeting streamed so that people who were unable to attend for whatever reason could watch it. Is that going to be available again this year?
Kyle, can you comment on that, Kyle? I know you've been doing some work on that.
See here?
Yes,
Here it-
that is the plan. We'll do a repeat live stream through YouTube.
Thank you.
But that stream, just so folks know, will not be interactive.
And may I ask, is it also, wasn't it on the radio last year too? Or will it be also on the radio for the people that are in their cars to listen to or not?
There was a snafu with that system last year, so
I know.
people were not able to tune in, but I believe Wallace has assured us that it will work this year.
Okay, so both YouTube and radio for people that, because a lot of the people that aren't
I
going to come out.
think
were just
the
listening to
radio
on.
signal is just there at the meeting. I don't think it's a broadcast on like a FM, I don't think there's a lot of range on that broadcast.
Okay.
They transmit it right out of that truck, that equipment truck they have there. I don't know what kind of range it has.
Okay, thank you.
Good. Okay. Very
Can I
good.
ask, I'm gonna keep asking questions, I'm sorry,
Sure.
because I really think that, I mean, the majority of the people that are gonna attend are gonna be vaccinated, and several of them are just gonna be annoyed by the restrictions continuously. And I'm not suggesting I agree or disagree with them, just it's a fact of the matter. So how many residents did we have attend last year
60
in their
something.
cars?
62 or 3, if my
Okay.
memory
And
serves.
with the interest in the fire department thing, I would anticipate it's going to be more, but maybe
I
not.
hope. Yeah, I hope it's more. Yeah.
I would rather have empty chairs than not enough. So, I mean, depending on how much more we're talking about spending, I would prefer to have 100 chairs, and you know, and they will probably not be filled. But if it's tolerable, I think people would rather sit outside than in their vehicles. And the other suggestion I would make, if it's even reasonable, would be that people could, if they were in the same household or related, they don't need to be sitting 6 feet apart. They could be sitting together. So I mean, we're not going to police whether they move chairs closer together and such, are we?
No.
Okay. That would just be my suggestion. I would love to see 100. I would love to see it appear to be the default, that if people want to sit in their cars, they are welcome to, but that the chairs are set up as in front of the stage, so to speak.
I could take.
Yeah,
care
that
of
works. Yeah,
Not a problem.
Thank you.
that's fine. Make sure we have some microphones.
Yeah.
Could I,
All right.
excuse me, John, could I just ask something? And in fact, that was a point of mine, is the microphones, excuse me, it's Carmen Sanford.
Yeah.
And I certainly, Jeff, I appreciate what you were saying about the chairs and all, but the microphones were a problem last year. I mean, I was sitting in my car and you could hear sometimes, and then sometimes you couldn't at all, with the wind and all. And the fact that if you were going to speak, you would have to get out of your car and walk the length of the parking lot, depending on where you were parked. So microphones would be a definite need, and certainly a better sound system. But, you know, I just think it's really intimidating for you to expect people to walk, you know, down to the microphone. And no matter where they are, we don't do that when we're sitting in the gym, obviously. So I don't think we should be made to do that, you know, otherwise, at a drive-in or not.
May I comment? Do we have a plan to have some wireless mics available so that the microphones can go to the people instead of the people coming to the front? And my second thing would be regarding the microphones. I'm hopeful that we've all been paying attention to the science that makes it not necessary to do the complete disinfection of the microphone between each person, because that is not how COVID is transmitted. So hopefully we can take some of those things into consideration and do our best to come out of this difficult time with you know, eyes open and options available.
Matt, go ahead.
You know, the state, you can still read, they still have online, you can read through their checklist. They have a special one for town meetings and a whole section to even like drive-in town meetings. And I agree with you, Jeff, but I think they still list sanitizing microphones in between each person. So,
Well,
I mean, if it's there, I agree. I mean, maybe there'll be some minor changes between now and a couple weeks from now, hopefully, but I guess my point is, if they've got it on paper, we need to follow it, unfortunately.
Or what?
Kyle, is there a way to like a text or like a chat to submit a question? Is that a possibility?
I mean, anything's possible, right? But look at how our selectmen meetings have gone, and the way the warrant committee meetings have gone, and the difficulty in trying to take a vote on this platform, and trying to, you know, I don't know. It's kind of late in the game now to try to brainstorm this. We should have been thinking about this 3 months ago. But there's probably a way to, you know, take text. I don't know. I haven't crossed my mind.
As far as the votes go, I think they still have to do the verbal.
I'm
Unless
not
they do
sure
a
I
written
understand
ballot.
the
I don't think they-
difficulty with, submitting questions the way we have in the past.
Oh,
Traditionally,
question. I thought you were talking about voting on articles. They didn't make any
Mm-mm.
provisions for that sort of
I think
thing.
Wendy was asking if there's a way to submit questions electronically.
Right, okay. Sorry, I
I just-
misunderstood.
Look, this is not an ideal situation, but I think that we've gotten pretty creative and it's not perfect. At some point, residents need to take responsibility for themselves. And if they choose not to attend the town meeting, they choose not to attend the town meeting. It is what it is, and I can't wait until we can all get into that stuffy gym again. I never thought I'd say that, but I think we've just got to tough it out for one more year. It's far from perfect. We'll work together. We'll get through it.
I'm not sure I 100% agree, because there are people that have had to be
Don't think we'll
double
get through it?
vaccinated that are
I'm
still very
going to
much.
be fully vaccinated as of Friday, but to be honest, I'm not comfortable getting in big gatherings at this point.
I
because not
understand
everyone
that.
takes it seriously. as
There
I
are
do.
going to be people who are going to be afraid to come even after we're allowed to have it back in the gym. And I think thinking forwardly about how people could submit their questions is something we ought to be doing, just to give voice to residents who we may not believe are rational or reasonable, but they're still residents.
I think I agree. I think that it's important to have that capability in our arsenal. I think going down the road from here.
No,
in any case,
if it is easy, Kyle, what I would suggest is setting up an email account that they can send emails to and have somebody responsible for potentially reading questions if they come in. I don't know how else you can't make any promises that every question will be or comment will be read or asked, but I think it would go a long way that we're trying to allow for people to weigh in and ask questions.
Yeah. I
don't know how to do that. Well, there are several ways, but it is very short notice.
I believe that's going to be too cumbersome to try to pull off for this town meeting we're planning for right now. As you say, if in the future there's still, hopefully we're out of this, but if there's hesitancy to gather next year, then we'll have kind of a longer runway to prepare for that, hopefully. But especially where, Kyle's sort of IT man by default. I don't know that I want to throw all of that on to try to figure out at this point.
And in deference to Carmen's comments, is there a way for there to be a mobile mic that could be taken down to the people sitting in the chairs? Is that going to be available, Derlin?
We've never asked that question, so I guess we could ask it.
Well, I think that it worked perfectly well at the Mount Desert Elementary School. Same setup. All we need is a source of electricity and the same equipment. So it's not that difficult.
I would think Wallace would be able to do that.
I would hope so.
They have wireless
The
mics.
people who are self-conscious about having to go up in front of everybody and do that.
I can ask that same question when I ask about the chairs. So
There you go.
2 questions for the price of 1, right?
Yep.
Yeah, we can do that.
Okay. Any more on that?
I do have a suggestion. Why can't people just write out their questions on a 3x5 card and submit them?
I mean, they can. There are many ways to do this. That's certainly one of them. I mean, we could have somebody just watching the chat box and taking questions as they come in through the chat box. I mean, there are many ways to do this. We'll come up with something.
Okay.
Okay.
I guess I'd sort of like to resolve this though, because again, when we say we're going to come up with something, like I said before, I have a problem with throwing this on Kyle at this point, 3 weeks out from the town meeting, to say, we'll figure out how to do some sort of electronic chat. And you also, again, what I keep getting back to, if you want to ask a question, if you're not, you can drive and sit in your car. Someone will bring a microphone to you, or there'll be a microphone in your general vicinity, or you can sit outside with a member of your family, and there'll either be a microphone coming to you or in the general vicinity. I mean, to me, that's very accommodating.
Yeah, no one's throwing this
Very
over on
similar to
Kyle.
what happens in the gym anyway.
Yeah, no one's throwing this over into Kyle's lap. It's just that anybody can do that. Anybody can look at the chat box that comes through.
Well, I
It's not-
think to get it set up, there's more to it than you think.
Well, we do Zoom meetings and we do Google Meets all the time at school, every single day. We deal with this.
Right, and we see how this Zoom works out when we have to remind people to get off mute 9 times. I don't think it's fair to throw this on Kyle. Again, he's not even, Kyle's the IT guy because he's willing to step up and try to solve problems. I don't like saying, well, figure this out in the next, 3 weeks. It just seems like a lot to me without testing it out, and that's just my thought. I don't think it's fair to be doing that.
I agree with Matt. I think we've got a workable system. If we can have a roving mic would be terrific. But it wouldn't be any different than when we're in the gym. That's what people do. We don't have.
Donna Reese has raised her hand.
Donna, go ahead.
Hi, am I allowed to speak? I'm just a, mere mortal listening to meeting. I want to say is I can't even remember at this point who suggested the email in your questions. I think that would be wonderful if you could offer that, because, there are a lot of people who are literally paralyzed in their homes because of the stress of COVID. And I don't want to underestimate that. And I'd like to try to be as accommodating to them. Of course, I don't want to overwhelm Kyle either, but perhaps an email in questions during a certain period of time, and have someone assigned as you or someone else has said to reading those questions in, I think is good. And I think long-term, you're right, whoever said that, this isn't going to go away next meeting when everybody's stuck in the gym. There's a lot of people who won't want to be in a gym, regardless of whether or not we're immunized or not, or we've had boosters or not. It's a little premature for that. And those are just my 2 cents.
All right.
She dropped the mic. Boom.
Oh, that was it.
I know. I'm just kidding. No, I'm just kidding.
All right.
One last question. Do you have a date when the report will be, the town, the annual meeting report will be ready to be available for all to read? The warrant and all, the articles? Is there a date that we know?
It's at the printer right now. I'm anticipating probably next week we will have them and distribute them throughout the town. And I can certainly post it on the website if Derlin wants to proceed that way.
Yeah, we always have, I think.
Thank you.
All
Of
right.
course, you have the articles in the packet this week, as they've been voted on by both the warrant committee and the selectmen.
Thank you.
Okay.
So we could potentially have like a PDF version of this go up on the website before the hard copy is available to be distributed. Okay.
Once we've signed it, so yeah.
Okay, is everybody happy with our resolution to the taking questions at town meeting?
So we're going to just try an email address. Is that the idea? Or no? Martha's shaking her head.
Well, in my mind, I know it is Kyle that would be doing this, but setting up, if we wanted to set up a separate email, such as town meeting 2021 at mountdesert.org, that would take him a very short amount of time, unless I'm sadly mistaken. It seems to me that we could post that, and then, I mean, if no one else, I think we could find somebody that was willing to keep that going and look at it during the meeting. I would suggest that we move forward with that, and that we also definitely make it a plan to have a couple of wireless mics available.
Yep.
I would just suggest that maybe with the email address, you have a cutoff date or time prior to the town meeting. Because if you're doing it during the town meeting, if someone's sitting in their house emailing you questions about warrant articles that were voted on 20 minutes ago, I mean,
that'd be the job of the person monitoring it. It would be, it's not necessarily an easy task to weed out multiple people who ask the same question, perhaps, but again, I mean, my position in going forward, and also for this year, and is to encourage more participation, not less. And I know that's not always the popular way to go, because it's very inefficient, and it's messy, and it's difficult. But whether we're in a gym or in a parking lot, my feeling is that we need to do everything we can to allow access to as many people as we can, however we can, within the legal needs. Not do as little as we have to, but do as much as we can.
It's Katrina, and I just have a question. Since nobody is even monitoring the chat of this meeting, where there's a question, but you've not, well, I'm not sure when Adam Fraley wrote his question asking if the town meeting could be Zoomed or not.
At 7:35.
So there's a lag time here. So I think we have to think about that. If you're going to talk about having internet connections at the high school and hoping everyone has connectivity, if it takes so long to have a chat question answered, how long is it going to take to have an internet question answered at town meeting?
Well, I can respond to why I didn't respond to Adam, because I don't know if it's not my position to respond to Adam. I'm not the chair of the meeting, and I don't want to assume to be able to dialogue independently, but I did see it, and I agree with you. I do think that Kyle made a very good point a while back that we should have been doing this months ago. But we probably all had hoped against hope that we wouldn't be facing this question right now. It is very unfortunate that we're in this situation with this little time to go.
All right. You done with that?
I am.
Okay. Thank you. Let's move on to new business. Catherine M. Connolly doing.
Should we answer Adam's question why we can't do it via Zoom?
Well, Zoom for town meetings isn't one of the permitted uses. You can't hold a town meeting with people voting remotely by Zoom. We can have this type of meeting, but they did not grant that authority to town meetings.
Thanks for the clarification.
That's for voting.
But the meeting could be held by Zoom. People could comment by Zoom, but they just could not vote by Zoom. Is that correct?
My interpretation of that, Katrina, is that town meetings, that would be a part of the town meeting process, and that would not be allowed the way I read it.
Okay.
And Kyle could answer this, but I think there's a limit to how many people can be on the platform at one time.
All you do is buy a bigger ticket. I mean, there can be hundreds and hundreds of people on a platform.
Yeah, we upgraded to 500 people.
Yeah.
I will just say, this past fall, Tom Savage's memorial service was done online, and if you speak with George Gross from Coastal Computers, who volunteered to kind of monitor all that and get it hooked up, just getting people to, kind of corralling people and getting them to keep it on mute at certain times, take things off mute. That was a very difficult job. So I wonder how that would go at town meeting.
Well, the settings would be that everybody was muted by default and would not be able to unmute themselves. That's an easy thing to do.
Okay. Can I move on?
Yes.
New business. Catherine Connolly, doing business as Lighthouse Inn and Restaurant. Request for liquor license renewal. I'll take a motion.
Have we had the public hearing? I'm sorry, I can't remember. Did we do that last time?
No,
We
there was never,
did not for this
no,
one.
not for this one.
So we can't vote on it. Is that correct?
Yeah, there's not a public hearing for a liquor license renewal. The public hearings are really for the SAPs, the special amusement permits.
Yeah,
Okay,
because they make noise.
so in that case, I move approval.
Second.
Okay, great. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Item B, Dobbs Productions Inc. request to use public access channel 1301 for summer 2021 and winter 2022.
Move approval.
Second.
Yeah, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. MDOT sign recommendation for Nor'easter approved at planning board meeting 4/14/2021.
Move
So they,
approval.
the guys would have to come in and sign that, Claire, is that true?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's part of the whole deal. We've got lots for you to sign then.
Now, is that a requirement for the chairman only to sign, or?
I believe it's just the chairman that needs to sign that.
Okay. All right. Let's see, other business, any other business?
Did we vote that?
Well,
We don't have to
there's
vote?
still a item
Oh,
E.
okay. All right. Oh, yes, okay. Item E, summer
Okay.
2021. Did we vote the MDOT sign?
No,
No.
I move
Okay.
approval.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Summer 2021 retail sidewalk possibilities discussion.
I sent back to you guys as part of your packet what you did last year with that, so
Yeah,
hopefully you get a chance to read that.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it worked out well last year. I
Yeah.
move that we approve the similar approval, a similar situation for this summer for retail and restaurant sidewalk business.
Second.
Is that, yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, was the reasoning, are we going to do that forever? Because the reasoning behind it last year is very different than the reasoning I would argue for this year.
I think there are still a lot of people that feel uncomfortable going into stores.
Right, but who are we trying to help? The businesses with their sales or the people going to the stores? Because I don't think that retail businesses are going to suffer as a result of not having sidewalk sales this year.
I think our retail businesses and restaurants have suffered a lot, and I think anything we can
Right.
do to help them is in the best interests of this town.
Well, it sounded as though that based on their evidence from last summer that it did help. That's what
Yeah.
I was reading from the Romantic Room anyway, and they're the ones on the ground that know what the story is. So I would say, go ahead, let's do it for another year. But I wouldn't say this is something we're necessarily going to be doing every year going down the road.
Or maybe we will.
Maybe.
Yeah. I guess my big concern is not so much the retail shops, but restaurants and particularly having alcohol on the sidewalks is a problem from my perspective. And if it isn't necessary to keep the businesses afloat, which I don't think it is, because there's going to be tremendous traffic. I mean, bookings are through the roof already this year. I know that it was allowed, or it was initially discussed in the areas that were going to eventually be pop-up parks, which and I'm not sure where we are on all that, but I just, I think if we, I mean, I understand the romantic room, but if we okay it for her, then we're okaying it for everybody. And
We are okaying it for everybody.
yeah.
And my
yeah, it is.
understanding last year was that alcohol was not permissible out on the sidewalks.
Yeah, there was a simple fix to that. I think Jim elaborated a lot on that.
I think it wasn't it? And to accept beyond they had to put like cones up or something.
I can't remember how they dealt with it, but they did deal with it because it was an issue. And it seemed to pass muster. Yeah, Jim isn't here, is he tonight?
No, he's on vacation this week.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. I guess my thinking is that if we don't need to do it to help the businesses stay afloat, that we built the sidewalks for sides for walking. But so I'm not a big fan of it. But I would think that more input would be necessary before we decide to vote on something like this. And it is early. I'd like to hear what Jim has to say, and I would like to hear from some other businesses, and I'd like to hear about from the Chamber of Commerce what they're anticipating for foot traffic and so on. Personally.
Well, I think I've spoken to Mickey at the Chamber of Commerce several times about this, and I know she's put in her email newsletters and whatnot that they, based on the amount of phone calls and emails that they've received about bookings, they anticipate a very good summer as far as visitation.
They do, absolutely.
Well, it was moved and seconded.
Good. Any further discussion on this? I personally think it's a good idea to do this again. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Okay. One opposed, 4 in support. All right, other business. Is there any other business?
The only thing, Derlin, I thought we were going to discuss Caroline Pryor's.
You did it under
suggestion.
consent agenda. You approved,
Oh.
if you want to pull it out and discuss.
No,
it.
that's okay. That's okay. I'm sorry.
And you didn't do anything about whether or not you were going to sign it or anything. You didn't.
Yeah, we're not, that's not even to that point at all.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So that's the end of that discussion.
Yes, thanks.
Yeah.
There you go.
All right, I guess we'll move on to treasurer's warrants. Warrants to be approved and signed, town invoices AP 2159 in the amount of $539,245.39.
Move approval.
Second. Oh, this is Martha Dudman, second.
Yeah. Great. Jeff, how do you vote?
Jeff Wood votes aye.
Martha, how do you vote?
Martha Dudman votes aye.
Matt, how do you vote?
Matt Hart votes aye.
Wendy, how do you vote?
Wendy, we saw a message from
There
her
she is.
phone.
Wendy
was
Littlefield
dying.
votes aye,
Oh, she's
sorry.
there.
Okay.
She got back.
And John McCauley votes aye. Okay, authorized warrants to be signed, AP 2157 in the amount of $2,345, AP 2158 in the amount of $1,989, town payroll PR 2124 in the amount of $126,592.47.
Move signature, or Martha Dudman moves signature.
Matt Hart seconds.
Great. Martha, how do you vote?
Martha Dudman votes aye.
Matt, how do you vote?
Matt Hart votes aye.
Jeff, how do you vote?
Jeff Wood votes aye.
Wendy, how do you vote?
Wendy Littlefield abstains.
Okay, and John McCauley votes aye. Warrants to be acknowledged, school invoice number 11 in the amount of $152,594.54, and school payroll number 21 in the amount of $83,968.49.
Matt Hart will move acknowledgement.
Jeff Wood seconds.
Great. Matt, how do you vote?
Matt Hart votes aye.
Jeff, how do you vote?
Jeff Wood votes aye.
Martha, how do you vote?
Ooh, Martha Dudman votes aye.
Wendy, how do you vote?
Wendy Littlefield votes aye.
And John McCauley votes aye. Great. I will take a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
Great. Great. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.